All right. Well, now to kick things off, welcome to Capitol Day. We are so grateful that you will be joining us next Wednesday at the Capitol for this very important day of after school advocacy to share the incredible work that you all do day in and day out to support Michigan's young people. And we are just incredibly grateful you're taking the time to really lean into the power of storytelling and sharing your experiences, elevating that to our legislature, who is excited to continue supporting the work that you do. Just a quick note on the flow of the presentation. I'll be walking through different logistical items of the day. And so if you have any questions that come up, please feel free to either raise your hand on like the raising hand feature or put them in the chat. And my colleagues, Ryan and Rob, will monitor that and answer your questions. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the first slide. Sorry, just one second. Perfect. All right, just starting off with a quick why we are here. What is the importance of Capitol Day? As I was saying before, there is critical power in your ability to share the stories that happen in the day to day of running your after school programs. That is the valuable work that you do, is some of the most impactful stories that our legislators can hear and that can influence what they see as a priority for our upcoming budget season. So, taking the time to attend Capitol Day shows our legislature that after school and summer programs are a critical part of our state infrastructure. Your stories help our lawmakers understand the real impact of OST, and it helps us keep building momentum for investments in years to come. This year, we have an enormous amount of folks attending Capitol Day, and this is excellent news. We have over 600 people registered to be here on this day, and we are all here to send the clear message that after school matters, that continued investment in after school is critical. So, just to kind of set the tone, this is what we are entering the meeting with. And also to share quickly, we did receive notice that the Senate and the House both proposed in their budget proposals to maintain funds for out of school time. The House has proposed 75 million, the Senate 135 million, which is an increase from the current 75 million this year. This is huge, wonderful news. So we want to make sure that in our engagements with the legislature, whether that's through legislative meetings or offhanded conversations you might have with a lawmaker day of, do be sure to express gratitude for them for making that decision. But keeping that in mind, we also want to be sure that in our meetings, we're still advocating for an increase in funds, aiming for that 100 million amount, just because, as we know, there are still young people in the state who are on wait lists for programs and more youth that could be served. So just wanted to preface with that information, and I'll continue to touch on it in the slides to come. So yeah, feel free to go ahead to the next slide. All right, what does success look like on Capitol Day? It can take on different forms for different programs. By the end of the day, ideally, your program has connected with at least one policymaker or staffer. That could be through a legislative meeting or just a conversation that's had on the Capitol lawn with lawmakers attending during the luncheon portion or at any of our activities. Ideally, through these legislative meetings, whether that's again formally or informally, you're sharing your story or helping one of the young people attending with your program to share theirs. So, making sure that you're creating those opportunities to share about the impacts of your program. And then finally, you've helped show the scale and the impact of after school in Michigan. That's just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about how to tell the story of after school. What is the local impact in your lawmaker's district that your program has? Just an important thing to keep in mind. And yeah, that's it. Just keep it simple. All right. To share a few event details for the logistics of the day, most of the day will take place on the Capitol lawn, right in front of the Capitol, with all of the tents set up. It'll be pretty unmissable, but that is where to go, what to look for. The event is going to run from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. but check-in opens at 8 a.m. And that is when it's recommended to arrive, especially with the high volume of attendees this year. Making sure that you're there nice and early if you can will be helpful with the registration process. This is, which is different from years past, going to be an outdoors event this year. So we'll have some tents set up to accommodate for some rainy conditions and also just to provide shelter from the sun. However, rain or shine, the contents of the day will take place on the Capitol lawn, and we'll just be sure to keep our spirits up regardless. But I think we're going to have some great weather that day, so we should be set. All right. Just to share a brief visual overview of the area, as I mentioned, most of the content of the day is going to take place on the Capitol lawn and steps. That's the ceremony, our facilitated activities. But if you have legislative meetings scheduled, those will likely take place in either the Senate or the House offices, depending on which representative or senator you're meeting with. And so those addresses are listed below. If we have been in conversation over email about coordinating legislative meetings this week, I will send you the specific office location of the lawmaker we've coordinated meetings with. If you've coordinated your own meetings, but you're confused as to where to go in the building, feel free to send me an email. I would be more than happy to help with that or answer any questions. Then we also have the location of Heritage Hall on here and a bit more details about what the Capitol will look like once you're inside and how to navigate it. And then finally, towards the bottom, you can see parking options located nearby our facility. So definitely note that this, again, is going to be recorded and information will be available later, but feel free to make reference right now of these addresses on the slide. And moving on to a few more logistics for bus parking and drop off, as we know many programs are arriving in buses. All buses will park at the Michigan Library and the Historical Center located at 702 West Kalamazoo Street in Lansing. This is right nearby the Capitol lawn, just a few blocks away. To get there, you'll enter through Kalamazoo Street, pull up to the gate, and when you're arrived, sensors will automatically open it. And note that parking is free for buses. You may also drop off participants near the Capitol or along nearby streets if your bus will not be staying throughout the day or before you proceed to park. So, again, take note of this if your program is arriving via bus. All right, once you have arrived and you've approached the Capitol lawn, head to the registration tent, which will be near the Capitol steps. It's like right in the center of the lawn. Look for MASP signage. We'll have banners up and tables, and we'll have staff walking around to help direct you as well. Ideally, if you could assign a group leader from your cohort going to pick up all the name tags and materials at the table, that will be helpful as we'll have many, many groups attending. And we want to make sure that we can get folks their materials as smoothly as possible. So having a key person from your group to go do that will be helpful. And once you have your packets, we'll have information that will help assist with your legislative meetings and navigating the day. So be sure to take some time to look that over, perhaps over breakfast or just kind of in these interim periods. And again, if you're unsure of what to do or caught off guard in a moment, all of MASP staff will be wearing a royal blue shirt with the MASP logo. So keep an eye out for us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have throughout the day. All right. In terms of day of contact, if you have any questions or issues that come up and you can't find somebody in person, feel free to text Stephanie. She is our policy or public affairs director, pardon me, and she has a great acumen in terms of understanding the Capitol and navigating Lansing. And so please take note of her number here and feel free to contact her throughout the day if you're having trouble logistically getting to and from where we need to be. And again, yeah, mass staffers will be around, and the registration tent will always have somebody staffing it to be sure that we have a key place for folks to go ask questions. So again, use any of these resources throughout the day. All right. Something to just keep in mind entering buildings for those legislative meetings, or if a Capitol tour, if that's something you're doing, or watching the session in the morning. At this time, expect security screenings as pretty commonplace for entering any of the Capitol buildings. And because of that, it'll be helpful to allow a bit of extra time before your meeting. So if you know you have a 1 p.m. meeting, arriving like at least maybe 15 minutes before to the building to make sure you have time to go through security screening will be very helpful. Again, with the logistics of that, it'll be helpful to travel light. So, really, just bringing the packets of any information you would like to share with your legislator during the meeting will be helpful to navigate security. And then be patient. Lines can build. It is, of course, never the easiest process to break it through security, but we want to just be sure we're being as patient as we can throughout that. All right, and then what to bring. Make sure to wear comfortable shoes on the day. We'll be moving to and from activities and we'll always be nice. Bring layers and weather ready clothing. Again, it's looking like we'll have good weather on the day, but we never know in the month of April here. So, got to stay on our toes. Bring a water bottle, bring a phone and a portable charger. Bring your program's story, whether that's a data sheet representing the impact of the program in your local area or the materials that MASP is providing, and bring a blanket or a portable chair if you so desire. Again, we've got a really large volume of folks and we have spaces and tents on the Capitol lawn, but it would never hurt to have a bit of an extra opportunity to kind of spread out across the lawn and hopefully enjoy the beautiful day. Food and amenities. So, breakfast, lunch, and snacks will be provided for all attendees. That'll take place on the Capitol lawn. We have dietary options available: halal, gluten free, and vegetarian. So, there'll be food available. And we also have outdoor porta potties, porta johns. They'll be across the Capitol lawn area. So, if you need to use the restroom, there will be opportunities available. All right, so working with youth. Excitingly, many of you all are attending with young people from your program. Attending Capitol Day is an incredible opportunity for a young person to understand the impact of sharing their story with a lawmaker, understanding themselves as connected to a system greater than themselves, and like feeling a sense of pride in their program. So, we're so grateful to you all for bringing your young people, and just have a few notes on, particularly for folks bringing young people into legislative meetings. It's helpful to keep your groups together throughout the day. Identify a clear adult lead in your program to help do so. With the volume of young people attending, we've got about 300, which is super exciting. We just want to make sure that everybody is accounted for on the day. So, as you're navigating, moving from meetings to activities, lunch, tours, anything, just make sure that you have all of the youth that came with you with the designated adult lead in your group, so we can make sure that everybody stays safe and accounted for throughout the day. When you're in legislative meetings, our lawmakers love to hear youth voices, so make sure that you're giving space for young people to share their story, perhaps prompting them, in the meeting through just asking like XYZ. Feel free to share a little bit about the impact of your program. And ahead of time, be sure to share with the young people too that that's an opportunity they might have. Our morning session on the Capitol lawn will provide young people with a bit of an advocacy 101 and understanding how these meetings will flow and preparing something to say. So, know that that option is also available on the day. And of course, in the video training that was sent out, you can also access some examples of how young people can speak up in these meetings. And also just keep in mind, step into support, not to take over, and trust that the young people in your program will be well received by our lawmakers. They really appreciate the chance to hear youth voice. All right. In terms of advocacy, thinking about these legislative meetings from the provider's perspective as well, definitely keep in mind you do not need to be an expert in everything policy, everything OST. The heart of it is just talking about who you are as a program, what your program does, what the impact is locally. Lawmakers very much appreciate hearing about local impact in their districts, and we know that you all have incredible stories to attest to that. And then finally, as I mentioned before, keeping in mind that gratitude for the support that our Senate and House have offered in the budget. So, yeah, just share the impact of your program and a sense of gratitude and a push to increase funds to keep doing this incredible work. All right. And just a simple framework for like navigating the how to beginning to end of the meetings. Just start by quickly introducing yourself respectfully, kindly. Share your connection to after school, whether that's your role at your organization. If you've been in the sector for even longer, share that. Give clear examples and stories from your program. Anecdotes are a really powerful form of advocacy and tend to stick with a lawmaker. You might even find that lawmakers, like on a lunch break, will be trading stories that they've heard from constituents about their program. So definitely like have some key anecdotes from your program in mind as you go into these meetings. Again, say thank you and reinforce the importance of our lawmakers supporting after school, what that does for the infrastructure of their communities. All right. And for folks who do not have a scheduled meeting, no problem at all. I'll make a quick note that this week, if you have any interest in wanting assistance for scheduling a meeting, please reach out to me as soon as possible. But for folks who do not have a meeting, no problem. Lawmakers and staff will be moving throughout the day. So you might even get the chance to just go up to your lawmaker's office and see if they're there. They might have a staffer there who is willing to take a quick visit. So definitely go into the day open minded and know that that could be a possibility. And please feel free to find a mass staff too if you want any assistance being directed to your representatives or senators building. Conversations will also happen on the lawn, in hallways, or informally. Several of our lawmakers will be attending the luncheon portion of our day, as well as the activity showcase. So you'll have the chance to mingle with them and have some informal conversations. If you're one of our programs that is hosting an activity during the afternoon portion, you'll have the opportunity to show that off to the lawmaker and have young people have the chance to converse by nature of them mingling throughout the space. And again, feel free to stop by their office anyway, even if you don't have a scheduled meeting, just to drop off materials and say hi. During both the morning and the afternoon portion, we'll have booths for you all to write letters, or for our younger youth who do not have the skill of writing yet, to draw photos or pictures, rather, excuse me, for legislators that you can drop off to their offices before you leave for the day. And at that table, we'll also have a guide with the like office numbers and where to go for every representative. All right, a quick note about media and photos. Throughout the day, we'll be capturing photos, videos, and interviews. And so please do make sure that you send your media release forms completed before the day to Ryan at miafterschool.org. This is really important just to make sure that we know if there are any youth or adults in attendance who do not wish to be photographed or captured throughout the day. So please do send completed media release forms to Ryan or bring them printed to registration on the day of. All right. The weather plan. Again, we are just going to keep rolling with it. Rain or shine, we'll be excited to be on the Capitol for OST. Make sure to dress again in layers with the bit of the unpredictability of the weather. There is limited indoor space and tent space, so just keep this in mind. Umbrellas would not be a bad call on this day, just in case. We'll communicate if safety changes everything. If we're going to have a more severe storm on the radar, we will be communicative about where to take shelter and be sure to be diligent about keeping you posted on that matter. Again, it is looking clear for this day, but just do want to preface with that. All right. And just to kind of walk through the agenda at a glance, we know you've received this more fully in the Know Before You Go email, but to review now, you'll start with the check-in that's coming to the registration table, making sure your group has all your materials. We'll begin with a welcome ceremony that'll take place at the Capitol steps, where we'll then have a ceremony where some of our lawmakers will receive awards. We'll have youth speakers, and sort of a kickoff celebration of after school. Then, if you have meetings scheduled, you'll navigate to your meetings. During that time, we'll also have Capitol tours scheduled. Your group might have signed up for that. So, if you've done that, that'll take place in the morning and early afternoon. And there's also session to attend. So, in your form that you were sent, you should have filled out where you'll be during all these times. But just to kind of preface, this is what will be going on. And then finally, we'll have our activity showcase at the end of the day where programs will be hosting an activity for youth and providers and lawmakers to all participate in. So it'll be kind of a mix of a lot of different things happening at once throughout the day, but it's kind of the nature of how Capitol Day flows. So be prepared to be dynamic and engaging in a lot of different ways. All right. And just some final reminders on that note. Make sure to stay flexible and know that math staff are here to help navigate you to and from the different activities and meetings that you have during the day. Because of the large number of people we have, it's very important to keep the group together, particularly making sure you know where your young people are at all times. Be respectful of space and time. Again, keeping in mind the volume of folks, it's helpful to arrive to your meetings a bit early, and make sure that on the Capitol lawn, you and your group are navigating that space respectfully. And finally, while it definitely completely understandably can feel intimidating to go into a day like this where you're representing your program, something you care so deeply about and put so much work towards, know that the best thing you can do is exactly what you're doing, just showing up and engaging, being your authentic selves and speaking authentically about the impact of your program in your lawmakers district. So we could not be more grateful to have you all here and are so appreciative of the time you're taking to do so. All right. And the big picture of the day, again, when we show up together, it matters. And props to all of you and all 600 plus people attending on this day. This is an incredible numbers. And we are not just telling a story, we're shaping what comes next for after school in Michigan. So it's incredible to celebrate on the day. But we do want to keep in mind driving that momentum forward, continuing to emphasize why after school matters to our lawmakers. And do keep in mind that materials, reminders, and advanced prep materials are available at the link below, which Ryan has kindly dropped in the chat, along with the media release forms for youth and adults. So do feel free to utilize those resources below. Again, with the media release forms, if you could send those to Ryan as soon as possible or have them printed to bring to registration day of, that would be much appreciated. All right. And with that, that is our presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts about the day, I'd be more than happy to answer them now. Or if anything comes up later on, do feel free to send me an email at olivia@miafterschool.org. I'd be more than happy to talk. But yeah, if you have any questions now, feel free to ask.
Hi,
All right, just a
Olivia.
quick note. Sorry,
Sorry,
go ahead. Of
I do have a question. If
course.
I have parent that is switched, like the mom was going to come and now she can't, but the aunt's coming, do I
Mm.
need to send you different names, or
Yes,
what
if
do we
you
do
could
in that case?
Yeah, if you could send their registration information to me, just so we could have that switched off, that would be very helpful. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
And just to make a quick note, I see Ryan dropped in the chat that many of the resources on this page will be printed off and in packets for you all to use when preparing and during your legislative meetings. So keep that in mind as well. All right, any other questions, thoughts?